There is a specific, visceral thrill to taking a 30 or 40-year-old analog machine and pushing it to its physical limits on a wet track. You feel every mechanical vibration, tire slip, and steering input. For collectors preparing to drop 7 figures on a 1980s poster car, capturing that feeling is the whole point. You want an asset delivering a pure, unfiltered experience. When you look at the blue-chip options from that decade, 3 primary contenders dominate the conversation: the Porsche 930 Turbo, the Ferrari Testarossa, and the ultra-rare BMW M1. This comparison matrix shows a glaring discrepancy right out of the gate. Looking strictly at 0 to 60 acceleration, the Porsche hits 4.6 seconds, and the Ferrari does it in 5.0 flat. The BMW M1 brings up the rear at a slower 5.4 seconds. That performance gap forces a difficult question. If the BMW M1 loses the objective stat sheet drag race to its cheaper peers, why does it command a massive price premium and carry such legendary status among collectors? The answer comes down to the fact that raw specification sheets fail to capture the actual physical and ergonomic reality of driving these assets on the road. To understand the M1's value, we have to look at the severe compromises required by its rivals. Take the Porsche 930 Turbo. For buyers prioritizing terrifying straight-line acceleration, it is the obvious choice. But that speed comes with a massive, well-documented trade-off. The 930 earned the nickname the Widowmaker for its lethal snap oversteer. If you make a mistake mid-corner and lift off the throttle, the heavy rear engine swings out like a pendulum, actively punishing driver errors. Alternatively, you can look to the Italians. Cars like the Testarossa represent flamboyant 1980s theatrical excess. You get the iconic side strakes, the wedge profiles, and the screaming acoustic V12 exhaust notes. Yet that dramatic presence usually masks poor ergonomics. A cross-country road trip in an Italian exotic is physically exhausting, with heavy steering, offset pedals, and absolute zero rear visibility. Choosing the Porsche or the Ferrari means accepting a binary outcome. Your vehicle is either dangerously unpredictable at the limit or severely uncomfortable for grand touring. The BMW M1 sidesteps those specific compromises because of how it was born. It is a homologation special, designed strictly to meet Group 4 racing regulations. BMW built it for the track first, ignoring standard consumer market demands. To compete with the visual presence of the Italian exotics, BMW hired Giorgetto Giugiaro to design a striking, aerodynamic wedge-shaped chassis. Then the production plan fell apart. Lamborghini was originally contracted to build the cars, but went bankrupt. The resulting assembly process was a convoluted disaster, halting total production at an agonizingly low 456 units. This chart maps that extreme scarcity. While Porsche and Ferrari were churning out tens of thousands of units during the 80s, the M1's total production run registers as a tiny fraction on the scale. That history guarantees blue-chip exclusivity today, but it introduces a massive financial risk for the owner. Because of the microscopic production run, finding bespoke replacement parts if you ever crash the car is incredibly difficult and wildly expensive. If you are willing to take on that risk, you're rewarded with the heart of the M1, the mid-mounted, naturally aspirated 3.5-liter M88 straight-six engine. This engine is built to handle relentless mechanical stress, safely revving out to a 7,500 RPM redline while delivering a pure mechanical sound. By utilizing naturally aspirated engineering instead of the period-correct turbochargers found in its rivals, the M88 avoids the sudden, unpredictable surge of boost that makes the 930 so dangerous. As the driver, you consciously sacrifice explosive straight-line thrust in exchange for highly predictable, linear power. The engine gives you exactly the power you ask for, ensuring it won't betray you mid-corner. You need that predictability because the M1's chassis offers absolutely zero electronic safety nets. There are no anti-lock brakes and no traction control to save you. Operating the machine requires heavy physical exertion. You wrestle with unassisted steering, manage a heavy clutch, and navigate a complex reverse H gearbox. This quadrant chart plots physical effort against predictability. The BMW M1 sits in the top right, high effort but highly predictable. By comparison, the Porsche 930 requires similar effort, but snap oversteer pulls it into the low predictability zone, making it far more dangerous. The M1 yields a deeply rewarding, unfiltered connection to the tarmac. It simply demands absolute physical commitment and mental bandwidth from the driver in return. Despite those physical driving demands, BMW famously marketed the M1 as the first everyday, usable supercar. Transitioning inside the cabin shows exactly why. You find specific German ergonomic inclusions that were exceptionally rare for exotics in the 80s. The M1 comes with standard air conditioning, power mirrors, and comfortable leather Recaro seats. It is an austere, functional environment. You don't get the theatrical, often cramped excess of the Italian cabins, but you do get a layout where every switch and dial makes logical sense. The M1 prioritizes actual cross-country road trip viability. It happily trades away interior flamboyance to ensure the driver has the endurance for long-distance travel. The ultimate real-world validation of the M1's chassis balance didn't come from a spec sheet. It came from the Procar Championship. Because of homologation delays, BMW created this unique racing series to salvage their investment, pitting Formula One stars against privateers in identical BMW M1s. Legendary drivers, who were completely unaccustomed to the car before arriving at the track, consistently praised the M1's precision and handling under extreme competitive racing conditions. That deep motorsport pedigree proves exactly why a 5.4-second 0-60 time doesn't matter. Top speed is irrelevant if a chassis is engineered with perfect balance. This decision tree maps the final framework. For raw straight-line speed, target the Porsche 930. For a theatrical status symbol, choose the Ferrari Testarossa. But if you value analog dynamics, predictability, and racing pedigree, the path leads directly to the BMW M1. The BMW M1 is not the fastest car of its era, nor is it the flashiest, but it stands alone as the most perfectly balanced, predictable, and historically significant driving instrument of the 1980s.